Oh, kurwa mać. Okay. Alright, what's up everybody? This is Ryan here, and you are watching episode number 7, finally figured it out, of my live coding series. So basically how this particular series works is my goal with it is to basically take you along the ride in the actual process, along for a ride, with the actual process of building an application more or less from start to finish. In this particular case, we'll be working on the Catalyst workout logging application, which is what we've been working on for quite some time now, in small snippets of time. Obviously, an application, especially when of this scale, is quite, it's going to take quite a number of episodes before we see significant progress, but my hope is that just being able to highlight and demonstrate different parts of the whole building process will be useful to people. Plus it gets me, working on Catalyst, which is something I try to carve an hour or two out of every week to do. Anyways. So before we get started here, I would just like to remind everyone that today's episode is brought to you partly by my wonderful Patreon supporters and PayPal supporters. So I just wanted to give a shout out to of course, through Patreon, we have Anch, my friend A, Cameron, Graham, Hank Martin, P. Jack, Shoku, Sushil, and Trevor. So to all those people, I say thank you very much. And also recently, donation through PayPal from Andre, and so that's also really appreciated as well. If you like what I do and would like to see me do it better, then please do consider donating via Patreon or PayPal, as some of you already have. And beyond that, if you aren't really in a position where you can afford to donate money, that's totally fine. Please do consider supporting WiseAss on whichever of your preferred social media networks. So we've got Google+, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, and we of course have our Slack channel, which is a great place to get extra help if you need it. It's also typically the best place to get a hold of me. Anyways, yeah, and for, the YouTube audience out there, please do consider subscribing. Anyways, that's my commercial for today. And let's kind of just get started here. What's up? We got Anch and Akram joining us. Welcome. So, I'll be perfectly honest. So one of the things that I was actually planning to do off camera was to work on layouts. Now that situation is basically, I decided not to do that off camera, and the reason why is I'm not actually 100% sure what the layouts are going to look like, which ones I'm actually going to use. And quite unfortunately for me, the layouts from the old project, which I'm refactoring essentially, or rebuilding, were not made with constraint layout. So I'm basically in this annoying position where I could copy the data over and put it into the new application, but it's one of those annoying situations where I basically have to make a judgment call as to whether rebuilding the layouts entirely is more efficient than copying over and converting the older layouts, especially considering that they might change quite a bit. So anyways, unfortunately I was quite busy this morning and I just did not get around to making that decision. However, there's still lots of stuff we can work on with the project, and today we're actually going to go back to the domain layer, and we're going to basically set up some testing, or at least try and get our testing to the point where we can do something with it. We might not get to executing unit tests, because that's traditionally something which my computer does not like to do while I'm streaming, but of course building the project over and over again. But at the very least, I can give you some tips on how to set up, how I set up my testing setup, and we'll just kind of go from there. So anyways, without further rambling, let's get started. What's up? We got Jesus and Amit joining us as well. Amit says hi and informs me Android architecture components. That's a very interesting point you have. I like it too. All right, let's get started here. So as I said, the project we'll be working on is Catalyst. Link in the description box below. My Git is currently shitting itself, and I don't know exactly why. So unfortunately, you won't see the latest update to the code in the repository, but I'm getting a kind of a bizarre Git error, and I think it came from when I updated my Git desktop application. I think it messed something up. So anyways, not particularly important. On the bright side of things, I did find a way to increase the font size of the side panels here. So you should be able to better see what I'm doing. In any case, we're not going to be working in the app layer. We're going to be working in the domain layer again. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new source set. So we'll see if I can do this correctly. In particular, I want to add a test folder. So in the domain package, the domain module within source, I'm going to right click on it and go to new. That's totally not what I want to see. What happened here? Why don't I have options for folders? That's obnoxious. Maybe if I click on here. Well, folks, we're off to a great start already. Okay, so why can I not select? Yeah, so this is the thing that's confusing me. It's not allowing me to add a test directory like it is here. I wonder, that might be because domain is domain in Android. Okay, it's probably because it's a Java library and not a what would you call it, Android setup. So I'm just going to do it manually. That's fine. Let's go to new directory. We'll call this one test. And so this is this GitHub message that you're going to see partially popping up throughout the entire stream. I'm not going to delete it because it just keeps popping up, so you'll have to bear with me there. Anyways, yeah. So will you let me add a Java folder? No. Okay. Resource bundle. That's all right. We'll just have to do it manually. So let's go ahead and say, so I've added my test folder. And what I want to do is, let's just add in, so it's going to be java com.ysblog.catalyst. So we're going to new directory java.com.ysblog.catalyst. And we'll see if it even lets me do that. I don't think it worked properly. See, that's just kind of one of the caveats of not having domain as a proper, not having domain as an Android library, an Android module. So we'll just build this out manually here. Just give me a moment. Com dot ysblog. Catalyst. And that should maybe actually say domain at the end. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'll kind of figure that. As my dad would say, we'll burn that bridge when I get to it. Oh, we got Victor joining us as well on his on a fake account. Kurva mach, welcome my friend. Probably going to be some swearing today because I'm just in one of those moods. Not a bad mood, just kind of a swearing mood in general. Anyways, as I always like to mention to my viewers who think that should be 1.8. To my viewers who aren't super familiar with Slavic languages, but in Slavic languages, including Polish, which I am part Polish, there's this special swear word, which, let's see, we'll call that a Kotlin file, which is common to, like, I don't know, if someone could give me a better estimate, that would be great, but I believe it's common to something like, I don't know, 8 languages. Kurva, so you can really get a lot of bang for your buck. Anyways, returning to what's going on here. So what I'm doing is, in the previous episode, I created these interactors. And so interactors are essentially, the way I think of them is they're essentially like a back-end decision maker, where, so conversely then a front-end decision maker would be something like a presenter or a controller. So, sorry, just let me shut down my phone here. There we go. So what I'm going to be doing is, so part of the magic of test-driven development is that you basically design and build things as you write the tests for them. In a sense, the tests themselves guide the building process. So I did go ahead and sketch out some basic things which I knew these particular classes were going to need. But what I'm going to do next is, first I'm going to set up basically a file which contains all of the, a whole bunch of test data which I want to be using in my unit tests. And then what I'll do is I will basically execute these interactors against that test data as I kind of build them out. So that's mainly what we'll be doing for today. So what I'm going to do is, within this test directory that I've created here, I'm going to create a file, and I'm just going to call it, I don't know, we'll call it test objects. Let's call it domain test objects. All right. Thank you. I realize I can't start Git. That's wonderful. Thank you, Git. Okay. So what we're going to do is, in a previous episode, I already built out most of the domain models for the particular application. And so what we'll do is we'll create some of these basically test versions of these domain models. And so when I'm in the actual unit tests themselves, when I want to create, pardon me, mock responses or use fakes, then what I'll do is I will use this fake test data. It's just more convenient, and all of my test data is all in the same, all comes from the same sort of static resource. So that's pretty much why I'm doing that. Alrighty. Here we go. So first things first, let's get started here. So let's kind of build this out piece by piece. So first thing is, one of the tips, so we're going to be writing in Kotlin. Just a quick tip I can give everyone. In Kotlin, when you basically want something to be immutable, when you want a piece of data or a property to be immutable, then what you want to do is you want to use the val keyword. And that's going to be true of all of these test artifacts here. I'm also going to make them, I'm going to put them uppercase just so it, you know, people are, it's just more legible that way. So first, workout object. I'll just make a note in here. This file contains test objects which we will use to run against our test, our unit tests for interactors. So first things first, val, and so what I'm going to do here, for now, yeah, I'll just prefix it with the test keyword. Oh, thanks for the update, YouTube. So I've got YouTube annotations popping up behind my, you guys can't see it because my face is blocking it, but yeah. anyways, test workout. So equals workout. So basically my goal here is for every kind of object in this domain model section, I want some kind of test object to represent it. So we're going to say workout equals blah equals workout. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to kind of build this out as I need the different objects. So obviously in order to create a workout, we need a couple of things. So we need the name of a workout, we need a creation date, and we need a list of exercise. So let's just get started building the name. How I like to build these things is I have the least complicated data on top, which then in turn builds the more complicated data down below. You should kind of understand why if sort of as I build this thing out. So first things first, so we'll say val test, let's just say w, whatever, I'll be verbose. I like to be verbose. And so test workout name is going to be, what's a good name for a workout? Let's do biceps and calves. There we go. That's just a good all-around compound movement, heavy, get the whole body working kind of workout. I hope you can tell that I'm joking. I know I'm pretty deadpan. And then we'll have our creation date. And so that's going to be, I don't actually know exactly what this date format is going to look like, but for now we'll just use today's date more or less. So that's going to be, let's see here. So that's going to be 10 /09/2018. It's definitely not going to look like that because I actually want to be able to have multiple workouts on one day, but that's okay. That's not super important. In some cases, we're just testing the behavior of objects. In other cases, we're testing the state. And in this particular case, we probably don't need to worry too much about the state. So let me get the chat going. So so Ansh is just wondering, am I sure that my GitHub is screwed? The path is correct. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a really weird error that just started happening today. I can't, if I can, I'll try and briefly show you the message here. This is the message I'm getting. And I'm getting this in all of my projects. So I think it's something to do with my machine because I recently updated to the new GitHub desktop application. And that was what appeared to make the change. So that's okay. I will live with it for now. So we got the workout date, and then we need a list of exercises. So before I create a list of exercises, so let's test exercise. Actually, we don't need to create a list of exercises. I've got a better idea there. But for now, what we'll do is I will create a test exercise object, which will be of type exercise. All right. How's everybody doing today? I will very briefly show, so Andrew's requesting that I show some Git settings. I will show you very briefly. Preference. I'm not, to be honest, I'm actually not entirely sure what you're talking about here. Git, preference, version control, Git, and you want to see what specifically? Version control, Git. Okay, and oh, that appears to be the issue. Yep, well, yeah, that'll be the issue. So because I updated GitHub, it most likely is the case that the executable is in a different location. Anyways, thank you for the tip. I won't bother fixing that right now, but that does appear to be the issue. Thank you, Anch. I just don't want to go messing around with other stuff because it's just going to be beside the point of today's code, and I can fix that later. Anyways, thank you for the tip, though. I appreciate that. Okay, so exercise. Let's go to exercise. I knew it had to be something with the executable because it literally happened the day after I updated my Git application. So, oh yeah. Okay, so we've got an exercise. What does an exercise name? What does an exercise need? Holy crap, my speaking is very poor today. I apologize about that. So let's say test exercise name. So if we're doing back and biceps, we probably need to be doing bicep curls. And let's do one more. I'm just going to hit Control. You know, I'm not going to piss around wasting time doing that. Never mind. Forget about it. So val text, yeah, exercise name. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking between the brackets and I'm hitting Control P, and that gives me a pop-up which explains which parameters you need to complete a constructor. Next we have, what was it, body type? Just type. So test exercise type. So types can be a couple different things, and I need to create some sort of enum type classes to manage this, but for now what we'll do is I'll make them so bicep curls would be isolation. It's a type of different exercises, or exercise. What else have we got? Hey, congrats. When someone in the chat just got a paycheck from an e-payment app, and Nalina's wondering what he should spend the money on. My advice, spend the money on drugs and women, and the rest, just waste it. I'm just kidding. Don't take my advice. That's awful advice. Congratulations, though. All right, what else have we got? We got muscle groups, which is a list of the muscle groups affected. So what we'll do is we'll say test muscle group. And so this would be, of course, biceps. And then what I'll do is let's go val test. Do I need to do that? No, I don't need to do that. Come on, Ryan, you should know this. Sorry, this is going to be a pretty boring part of this stream, but you know, this is me showing you how to actually set this stuff up. So let's add in the test exercise name. So hopefully you can kind of see now why I'm building this in a particular way. I'm kind of adding this stuff as I need it. The less complicated data up here builds up to the more complicated data down here, and that just works out well. So val tech, let's do test body part. Was it? No, it was workout type, exercise type rather. And then we're going to go list of, can I do that? Can't do that? I thought I could do that. Apparently I can't, okay. I really thought I could say list of right in these parameters. Whatever. Val test muscle group list equals, maybe I need to specify the type. What? Okay, now I'm confused because this, what am I doing wrong here? I'm not able to use the list of. operator, which is kind of confusing the hell out of me. Oh, someone said I'm sharing the wrong screen. My bad. I'm sorry. I do that a lot. Thank you, Devor. I'm glad someone, is paying attention. Anyways. What's up, buddy? Oh, by the way, I have an announcement about the ebook. I actually took it down. But I'll give a big announcement about why I did that at some point. Anyways, so I don't really understand why this thing is being so friggin' annoying. Okay, just let me pull up another project and see why I am incapable of building this the way I should be building it. Okay, so where would I need? Dum. Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Why the hell can I do that there and not here? I think I've got something configured wrong, because this... Is it because it's within a class? I don't really know. So what I want to be able to do is that, and that works in my other project. So this is my current hang up here, which is that you should be able to just say list of and then supply it. Now, I'm not sure what could be the issue here. Maybe, let's say class domain test objects. It's possible that that's the issue. Let's just try this really quickly. Now can I say list of? No, you're still not going to let me. Soka bliet. I'm not necessarily I'm not trying to make it a top level function. What I'm trying to do here is just create test data, and it's being an absolute potato. So where's another project recently where I would have this test data set up? Oh, I just don't really have the time or patience today to deal with this. So why do that? Is it because I bet it's because I'm missing shit in here. Because this is just a Java library. Okay, this is almost definitely what the issue is, now that I think of it. So let me just figure out, I think what's going on is it's just not giving me access to certain Kotlin features, probably because of that. Now I don't actually recall, I don't actually know if this is what the plugin is called, so let me just Google this really quickly. Hey, this is live coding, man. This is what it's like. Okay, so adding Kotlin to Gradle. Okay, it's called just Kotlin. I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that that's the reason. All right, so I'm just gonna run a quick project sync, which might fail, so we'll just try. Also, I think that should actually be targeting 1.8, but whatever. Let's just give this a quick shot. So when I run Gradle syncs, usually what happens is my computer kind of shits itself. So just bear that in mind. I might not be talking for a little while, but yeah. Here we go. Okay. Okay, is my stream still alive? Yes, it is. Great. All right, so I would suspect that that is the issue. Can I say... Ah, you shithead. Why you do this to me? Yeah, it's just not, doesn't want to cooperate. This was one of the issues. So when I was creating this project, this is one of the issues. Still need to include the dependency. Oh, I see what you mean. The dependency in dependencies, that would help, I guess. Good, thanks, Devor. Plugins. Huh. Okay, this is probably what it is right here. Kotlin STD lib, because we all like STD libs, not STDs. And that's implementation. All right, now I feel like I should be specifying a specific JRE compatibility, but we're just going to give this a quick check to see if that works. I'm a little bit skeptical. So anyways, but just to reiterate the point I half made earlier, one of the difficulties is when you try and do something new, for example, making domain layer as a strictly Kotlin Java library, which is a good idea in principle because it won't have any Android code. The cost of doing things like that is that you run into these new situations where you have to reconfigure things. So that's just, you know, one of the realities of building apps live. There we go. Boom. Thank you, Devor. We worked that shit out together. Okay, so everyone, this is what I wanted to do here. I just wanted to be able to say list of exercises. I think I can actually just, this is what I wanted to do originally. I can just type list of in there, save building this stupid variable or property, and then I should be able to just say, what does an exercise require? Okay, I need to make the exercise object first. So we'll say val test exercise equals exercise. Wait, I'm doing this wrong. Sorry. I need sets. It needs a list of sets. Correct? Yeah. No? Needs a list of muscle groups. Wow, my brain is working at probably about 70% capacity today. Here we go. List of sets. Okay, so this will be a list of string muscle groups. So let's say test muscle group. And I'm just going to use two of the same, because again, in this particular case, I'm not super concerned about the state so much as the behavior with these particular objects here. All right, what do we need next? So I should really close that bracket. So we need a unit of weight. I'll test W equals, so unit of weight for now will be a sneering imperialist and say LBS. Actually, no, most people watching this will probably prefer kilograms. So we'll say test unit of weight Reps type, what is a reps type? That's either seconds or for repetitions. So for now, we'll just say reps. Again, some of this stuff I'm going to actually refine later on. We have a note. That's not overly important at this point, so we'll just supply an empty string there. And then now we have our list of sets. So in order to create a list of sets, I need to create a set object. If you're wondering what a set is, simply put, let's say I decide to do bicep curls as my exercise. Typically, I would do something like 3 sets, so 3 sets of 10 repetitions for X number of weight. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, Google it. So test set is going to be a new set object. Oh, that's ugly. Whatever. Set. Okay, and what does a set need? Yes, that one. Thank you. So it needs reps or time, and it needs weight and an order. So let's say test rep number. Let's say 10. Test weight. What's a good yeah, I'm gonna say about 35 pounds. It's not bad. You know, it depends on what your form looks like. If you're busy like getting lots of momentum into your curls like some of my friends. So I'm gonna tangent for a moment and tell this funny story. So I've got this friend of mine, and he's a big guy. He's like 6'4" when he's hunched over, and I love the guy to death. But since high school back in 2011, whenever he goes into the gym, the first thing he does is he goes right to the dumbbell rack, and he grabs the 50-pound dumbbells, and then he just starts swinging these things up, just like getting it all the way back and swinging it up. And I'm just thinking like, holy crap, man, like I bet if you actually like put your back against the wall and just slowly actually used your bicep to get this exercise done, you'd probably be lifting about 25 pounds, but just every time just swinging them, getting a cardio workout with your arm workout. Anyways, I just wanted to tell that brief little story because it kind of makes me chuckle. All right, so let's get started. So hopefully everyone can still see me. I'm being told that my video output is low, but yeah, let's just kind of carry on here. So anyways, big digression there. So a new set is going to, yeah, so that's going to be test rep number. That is supposed to be an int. Let's do, yeah, that should be fine. Test rep number. And we have test weight. And we have order is just going to be whatever, 0 is fine for now. Why is test weight an issue? Because it has to be a double. There we go. All right, so we've got our test set object. Then we will create our list of, yes, a list of, I guess I don't even really need to specify the type argument because it's inferred. List of test set, and we'll do 3 of those. Oops, test set. Why didn't I just copy and paste it, for Christ's sake? There we go. Okay, so we've got our test exercises. I believe I can start filling out the workout now. So we'll say test workout name, test creation date. Oops, that's not what I wanted. And then we say test. I don't know why my video output is so low. That's obnoxious. Whatever. Test creation date, and then we'll do test what? Creation date. So we have our list of exercises. So what we'll do is we'll go list of test exercise. Got 3 of those. Because we're doing friggin' 9. Our workout consists of 9 sets of bicep curls, because that's how we roll. Okay, great. So that is basically it. I'm just going to run a quick commercial break. So just to review what I did here, I basically just wanted to build out a whole bunch of test artifacts which we'll be using in our unit tests. It is a bit of a tedious process, but there's plenty of things like that in software development. And that's most of the things I require for, of course I'll still need to consider the workout templates and the exercise templates, but I'm not going to worry too much about workout templates yet, because I think that'll actually be a feature for a later release and not the initial release, so we'll see about that. Anyways, just going to run a quick commercial break. If you've learned anything so far, which I'd be somewhat surprised if you did, then please do consider hitting the like button down below. Okay. So here we go. Let's get started again. I'm just going to finish off. We've got exercise template, which I will need. So I'll go ahead and create one of those. Val test exercise template. Cool. All right, what do we got here? We got a string. So that's going to be the ID. So I have no idea what IDs are going to look like yet, so we'll just do a big ol' 0000000. Not a clue. That's okay though. And we've got a name for the, we can use the same name, test exercise name for that. So an exercise template is basically a list of templates which the user can kind of add preloaded exercises to their workout. But I still want the exercise objects themselves to be quite customizable. So that's why I created a whole different object for exercise templates and exercises. Let's see. So type, again, we can do test exercise type. Muscle groups, so we'll do list of test muscle group, and exercise modality. What was modality again, brain? This was whether it was, oh, I'm trying to remember what modality is. Is it isolation or compound, or is it, did I write it down anywhere? I believe modality was either, I'm just going to make it up. I think it was whether or not it was compound. This could just be a flat out error. So type would be compound or isolation. Modality would be whether it's isometric, repetition-based, or time-based, I believe. So I'm going to go with that for now. That begs the question of, so reps type should either be reps or seconds. Okay, I think that works fine. So we'll say test modality. Obviously, the reason why I'm using the word modality is I couldn't actually think of a great name to describe this, but what it'll be is, this will be for repetitions. It can either be for like timed or repetitions, I think. Yeah, whatever. I'm just going to go with that for now because, again, those are the kinds of details we can work out later. So test exercise modality. Cool. Is favorite. Oh, you're damn right. Bicep curls are a favorite exercise. Let's give that a big fat true. Anyways. So Andrew's asking, off-topic question, so is there a good blog to understand which context to use when? I do have a video on context which talks briefly about that. The basic gist of it is that, let's see, so this will be false. The basic gist with, I can tell my brain is really messed up. Let's see. The basic gist with context is, so if it's something which only exists within the context of one activity, then you should use activity context. If we're talking about something which is used in multiple places in the application, so we're thinking databases, retrofit type stuff, a lot of that stuff you're going to want to be using application context. Now you still have to be really careful what you do with application context, especially because you can lead into memory leaks pretty quickly. Unfortunately, I don't have a specific blog which I can point you to though. My video is basically like a general overview of it, so that's probably not going to be super useful. But that's kind of the main issue there, is just, once you understand how context works, it helps to solve that problem. Okay, so we've got exercise template. We've got everything except workout template. And like I say, I'm not actually going to worry about that today. So what I'll do is we've only got 10 minutes left, and all we really did today was set up some test data. Obviously, it's not the most exciting episode we've done so far, but what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to start writing unit tests hopefully in the next video, and we'll kind of go from there. For the next couple minutes, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll stick around for a couple minutes to answer questions. But beyond that, we're just about at the end of the show. All right. So Andrew's mentioning that he's getting an error when using activity context when downloading an image from Firebase. So there's still, let me think about this for a moment. For some reason, I feel like, why do I feel like Firebase actually ends up grabbing application context anyway in the back end? I could be wrong about that, but yeah, you should be using application context for that. So for example, Firebase is something which, in a sense, will exist in multiple different places, so that would be an instance of something that you would want to sort of use application context. Now, the thing about this is if you're creating Firebase in activity context, as opposed to using like dependency injection, that could be one of the main sources of your problems. That being said, though, I can't really look at your code, so. Sure, I can talk about that for a bit. So Devor is just asking, can I explain unit versus instrument tests? And I can absolutely do that. And there's another part to that question. Let's see here. Yep. And then the other follow-up was, what about UI tests and what frameworks to use? So let me pull up the old note thing. So simply put, instrumented tests. So I have a bit of a gripe about this word. It would have been so much easier if they just said maybe device tests, because that's what instrumented tests are. For some reason, they wanted to use the word instrument to describe a phone or a computer. That would have made sense like 40 years ago or 50 years ago in the English language. Then you would call something like this, you could easily call it an instrument of some type. Normally the word instrument refers to a musical instrument, which this is, I guess it's kind of a musical instrument if you get the appropriate app. But yeah, it's just, yeah. So instrument is a pseudonym for device in this case. Therefore, an instrumented test is a test which is executed on a device. Unit testing. So what I'll say is, just to kind of define it, a unit means a given, how can I say this? A unit refers to some indeterminately sized piece of code. Usually a method is what you'll want to be testing. So it could be a single method up to a whole object, really. So the reason why we say unit testing, I believe, is because it doesn't necessarily mean strictly what most unit tests look like is, and what's strongly encouraged, is to just test individual methods, test small units. However, a unit test could also, I believe, be testing a whole object. Now, the important thing about unit tests is that they run on the JVM. So this is absolutely key. Therefore, you don't need to deploy to any device. So unit tests are awesome. If you're doing like T.D.D, unit tests are basically what will save your ass. So that, yeah, that's basically the general answer there. Most of what I write are unit tests because I generally feel that that's an adequate starting point or baseline for testing. And then that leads me to, so UI testing can be done using Espresso is what we typically use, what Android developers typically use. I'll be honest, I've written one Espresso test in my life, and part of the reason there is that most of the apps I've built up until now have had pretty simple user interfaces. I also try to build my user interfaces in a really simple way, a very sort of, I was going to say a very single responsibility way, but I'm not actually allowed to use that. I don't use that term anymore because it means something other than I initially thought it did. Anyways, yeah, so you can use Espresso for unit tests, or for, sorry, UI tests. The thing about Espresso is that you don't want to, so let me just, for a moment, I'll explain why I typically get away with not using Espresso tests. Now, I'm not saying I won't ever, it's just, for example, if I were to run, oh, sorry, that's probably partially obscured. So if I were to write an Espresso test to test this method in the view, the thing about it is I actually kind of don't really need to test whether TextView's setText method actually works. I should say this one down here. So in a sense, you could set up the test by sort of mock calling setText with some value provided, and then you would test to make sure that the text view currently is displaying some text. But in that particular case, what I'm trying to say here is since I try to follow passive view with Model View Presenter, I typically don't need to write Espresso tests for the simple things. Arguably, probably there's some, I've never had a good talk with someone who's like 100% test coverage advocate, but there are people out there who recommend testing stuff like that. In this case, yeah, you could use Espresso to test something like that. If you're like me and you have sort of passive view style views, then in some sense you don't really need to. At the very least, it's not as important. Anyways, it's 11 o'clock, and yeah. Yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see all of y'all later. Not the most exciting or interesting episode, but I promise I will actually add to this application before the next live coding episode, and then we can get into some more interesting stuff here. But what we did was not interesting, but it was still a very important process. So that's it for now. Peace out.